Okay, everyone, quick announcement. The dessert bar is open, okay? We were waiting for somebody to break the tape, and that's done, so here we go. That's open. Silent auction's open till 8:30, so move and groove and push down people that are in your way.
Hey, good evening. Welcome. We're glad you joined us, and I get to kick this off tonight. Before I do, with some prayer, it looks like you guys have figured it out. The buffet dessert line is open. The silent auction is going on. We're going to give about 15 minutes, and then we're going to continue. So mill around, say hi to people. Let's pray. Father, thanks for tonight. Thank you that you've drawn us this far in this journey as ordinary faith. We're excited about the next step, and we're excited about this evening. Help us to have fun. Help us to enjoy ourselves. Help us to meet someone new. We give this evening to you for your glory. Amen. Have some fun. Mill around. We'll be going in about 15 minutes.
Testing. 1. Okay, there I am. I was muted. My wife must have had my battery pack. Welcome. And you don't have to rush or anything. In fact, I was told to tell you repeatedly that the silent auction ends at 8:30. So if I forget to mention that, 8:30, silent auction ends. So now's your chance to offend your friends. No, I'm just kidding. A couple just housekeeping things. I hope everyone knows where everything is. You found the silent auction. Looks like everyone found the food. You found the water. Restrooms are down the hall. So that's all covered, right? All right. Okay, so let's get started. Guess what, Ordinary Faith? We're going to build a building. We're probably going to need a couple bucks to do that. I wonder what we should do. I need a money guy. I need someone who understands money. Paul Pertelli. All right, there he is. Paul, I have been thinking on this a lot. And so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Rock Springs Crystal Cathedral. Yeah, I mean like 100,000 square feet of glass, man. I'm telling you what, with a heated parking garage, vibrating pews. Man. Segways, so you don't have to walk anywhere. You just hop a Segway and get right down to the altar and repent.
How about some some covered entrances, a couple of windows?
Paul, I feel like you're cheaping me out here. All right, okay. I'm sorry. I thought somebody said something to me there. Okay, how about a worship this way drive-through? How about that? You come through 90 seconds, you get blessed in a latte.
So, best I can do is a coffee bar.
A coffee bar.
Really nice coffee bar.
Really nice. Okay, then. Let's see. How are you feeling about an indoor shooting range and golf range? We could call it golf and skeet for Jesus. I hit it, you shoot
the
it.
golf ball out of the air.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, it's Wyoming. You just step outside and do that.
We'll do. So we know what we're doing next fall. Anyway, we got all that lined out. Okay, I guess I'm shooting a little high, huh?
Little high.
Okay. Guys, everyone, this is Paul Pertelli. He's our church treasurer, and he keeps me in touch with reality.
So, we got about a $3 million budget we're looking at.
Yes, sir.
And it's looking like we're going to be able to do this for about 60% of the cost.
Right.
That you would normally have to pay. Now, a lot of that's the sprung structure we're looking at.
Right.
And a lot of it's this land that we've already got, too.
Yes.
So things are looking good for us.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
There
we go.
He
Yeah.
never hears that at home.
Oh,
Never.
jeez, yeah.
So,
Like I said, we're able to do this for about 60% of the cost is what we're thinking. And that's based on going with this sprung structure design we'll talk about here in a bit.
so they've handed out a brochure so you can actually look and get a glimpse at what we are talking about doing. So that is the process, how the sprung structure works, those kind of things. So, Paul, if it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and let you get back over there and receive. Thank you, Paul. Everybody, Paul. Thank you, man. Yes, ma'am?
The 75, this is the first donation tonight,
Uh-huh.
57 cents.
Oh. 57 cents. Paul, you already left me. We are almost there, buddy. All right. I'm thinking that's going to turn into a lot based on what Gordon promised us yesterday. That's how I heard that. Okay. This is the part. We love to laugh, but the pastor cries a lot. And so this might be one of those moments. 2008, 2009 is probably about when Ordinary Faith and Journey Church synced up. We began meeting every second and fourth Sunday at the college, and half the church missed us every week. They never could remember what week it was, but they would go, "I was there last week and you weren't there," and so it's been a long road. I mean, as Chris and I were driving here tonight. I've been so focused on the Gala, the background work, some things Steve and I have been working on, and that's so many others, which we'll thank later, have been working on the decorations and the auction and those kind of things. But I forgot how big this is for us. You know, I got zoned in, I do that. I aim for a target, and I get myopic. And so I'm driving here, and I'm just crying because this is a huge step up for us. This is a big step. It's like when your kids move out of the house kind of step or something like that, you know. I'm sure that's how the senior center feels, but anyway. We've actually been at the senior center for 11 years. This is our 11th year at the senior center. I went full-time in 2014. We were talking about that on the way, which was another leveling up for us at the time. When we started officially as Ordinary Faith, Inc. in January of 2012, that was when everything was legalized and we were our own nonprofit operating under our own 501c3. We started with the simple message: we start by trusting Jesus, we live to honor God, and we grow by serving others. And anyone new came along, we made it clear. Two things for sure we made clear. One, we major on the majors. If you want to fight about theology, we're probably not for you. I remember us saying that at every foundations class and a lot of sermons. We also said if you're following Jesus, you're following His servant. And so we encourage people to get engaged somewhere and serve. And that's where we began. And God has adjusted that message over the years, and He's bringing us now into a new message of dearly loved and greatly enjoyed. And we're very excited about what that's going to mean for us. But it's just fun to think about. And believe me, I could spend a long time telling you the story. It hasn't all been pretty. I mean, it's people who like church and like sausage should never watch either one being made. I'm just saying. I'll save the rest of the jokes for Gordon. I know that was the last one, I promise. So I know those are painful. So one of the things in Rock Springs that has challenged me and Steve and the building and leadership team, which we'll introduce to you before the end of the night, is how that there aren't a lot of larger evangelical works in Wyoming, and there aren't really any in Rock Springs. And I don't want to dismiss some of the great work that's been done by our Baptist brothers and the add-ons and things that have happened at Hilltop and Emmanuel. But there's so many other cities like Pinedale, Evanston, Cody, Laramie, Casper have larger churches, and it took a process to get there. In a few weeks, we're going to have Paul Gilbert in from Grace Church in Buffalo, and they're doing the same thing we are. They're aiming at a $5 million project in Buffalo, And he's going to share some of the miracles with us that they have already experienced. They've collected right at $3 million in a year. And he's going to share some of those stories with us and encourage us. But there are churches around for sure, but I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, but one thing we do at Ordinary Faith, and I like to imagine that we do it well, is we do things a little different. And that's what this is about. I mean, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do something different. If you look at that pamphlet, you're going to see a sprung structure. And as Paul mentioned, that facility is going to save us some dollars. Right now, building costs in Wyoming are over $300 a square foot. So a 10,000 square foot structure would cost you, basic structure would cost you $3 million. You're looking at a 12,000 square foot structure. We have a guy from Nebraska, who's volunteered his time, Jim Sabota, to help us drive down the cost per square foot. We're trying to get under $200 a square foot. He believes we can do it. And so I believe it's a miracle, but I think we need a lot of miracles, so might as well add it to the list, right? So that's what that facility is about. It helps bring the cost down. It's a unique structure. It's a little bit different, but they're also incredibly beautiful. Steve's visited a few around. I went with the Boligs down to Salt Lake and visited a facility they had down there, and I was just really impressed, especially when you walk inside, how spacious and open it is. So it's just a beautiful idea that we're going to take and build a place. Now, if you've gone to Ordinary Faith very much, you know that the building isn't the church. And we're not building the church by building, we are building the church by building a building. But that's our process here. Our goal is to have a place, 7 day a week, 365 day a year space, so that we can do what we have always done, what we want to do even better. And what we want to do is we want to build a place where people belong. And we want to start at belonging. We want help people. We want to help people see that they can be broken, they can be hurting, they can be lonely, they can be tired, they can be messed up, they can be whatever they are. And there's a place where they can belong and begin to heal and begin to put things back together. A place where they can be loved and a place where they can become loved. We want to build a place where people can believe. I mean, the process, the journey to faith. I have this discussion several times a year with church leaders in my journeys with friends who are in other churches. People do not realize how far the journey is to faith in this present day and age. They don't realize how far our teenagers and our young adults are having to walk away from a world and a mindset toward Jesus Christ. And so we want to give them a place where they can belong, but we want to be able to be there so questions can be asked, so that in a place of love and care and truth and openness and transparency and authenticity, we can help people experience the love of God and believe that God loves them, and we believe that the love of God changes your life. And so we want to do that. And then, of course, we want to become something. Jesus said, "You're the light of the world." I heard a sermon this week and I discovered there's actually science that proves that you actually shine. You actually emit bioluminescent light from your body all the time. Because we're created in the image of God. It makes sense. How could we not emit light? Because God is light and in Him there's no darkness at all. And so as we become people who realize the state of the world, realize what people need, love people, we become light to this world. Not religious, not ritual, but a living, breathing experience of God and a people that are releasing that presence and power into the world. So tonight is about asking you to step into that with us. And I know not all of you are part of us, and I appreciate you coming. And I appreciate you being willing to support us tonight and encourage us tonight. But for all of us, I just want to talk about that idea of, as we build this ministry center, as we work toward building this place where people can belong and believe and become, I'm asking you tonight to set your thoughts up on what God would have you to do. Now, we're going to laugh in a minute with Brother Gordon. I have a great introduction for him I made up this afternoon, and it's going to be good. I'm just kidding. But But I want to ask you to join us in that, yes, financially, but always remember that building ordinary faith is always about building people. And so building a building is just about building people. It's about building, yes, a place for worship and a place for teaching and instruction and leadership development, but it's also about building a place that invests in and pours into a community. I don't want to just build leaders for a church. I want to build leaders for cities of Rock Springs and of Green River and of the Mountain States. I want to build a generation that's able to carry forward and bring good and success and abundance into our world. And so tonight we need a miracle. And tonight's just the first night. You should know that. This is the beginning of a journey, not the end. We worked really hard to get to the start. And that's sometimes hard to grapple with, but that is the truth. Because tonight we don't just need $10,000. I mean, a friend of mine looked at me very seriously and lovingly and said, ordinary faith needs an extraordinary miracle. And that's a clear way to put it. That's what we need. We need, our budget, our goal is $3 million. And that is on a budget. That is not the Crystal Cathedral of Rock Springs. I wouldn't build that anyway. Maybe the Crystal Shed of Rock Springs. I might do that. With building costs where they are, that's where those structures are mined. So what I'm going to ask you to do tonight is, one, you probably came prepared to give a number that's in your head, a very logical and a safe number. Thank you. Thanks for thinking of us. Thanks for going there. That's where I started as well. But we need a miracle, not logic. And so I'm going to ask you to look from your head and into your hearts as well. I mean, into your hands as well. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Into your hands as well. There's a lot of ways to get from point A to point B. And some of you may have something in your hands that could be helpful, a skill, a talent, a service, a piece of equipment, or something like that that could help us get to that place. We'll talk later about some things, some IRA contribution things that are some great possibilities for certain people. Appreciated stock. I even talked to our finance guy. He said unappreciated stock would be fine too. So, so there's your head, there's your hand, but we need a miracle. And it's not just that ordinary faith needs a miracle. We need the people of ordinary faith to have a lot of miracles to get to the big miracle. Every big miracle that's a community of believers is the product of a lot of little ones that happen along the way. And that's where heart giving comes from. What if you talk to God tonight? Now, we're going to laugh in just a minute, and we're definitely going to have some fun. Fun is actually one of our values at Ordinary Faith, if you haven't figured that out. But what if in the process, when we talk about how to give later and so forth, and you ask God, and what if He gave you just some kind of ridiculous number, and you said to yourself, there's no way I could do that. But then your heart was like, but I want to do that. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to step into that. What if you asked God and He gave you that, would you step into your miracle? When I was a kid, my dad practiced faith promise giving for missions. And it's still practiced in a lot of churches. It's not one that we've ever pulled out of the hat, so to speak. But what faith promise giving that my dad practiced, it was, he would ask God for a number above and beyond his personal budget every month. And he would ask God what he was supposed to give, and God would give him a number, and every year they had a faith promise campaign, and he would commit to give that number above his personal budget every year. My dad died this year, and I don't think he ever missed a faith promise payment this month. God always provided. He would brag about it. I mean, we Christians don't call it bragging, we call it testifying, but he would brag about it. I'm just asking you to look, yes, logical giving we need. That's how we pay the bills every month. The hand giving is how so many needs are going to get met, coming out of your gifts and so forth. But the miracles, that's what's going to happen over the next year. So, now, I did mention that, the silent auction quits at 8:30. Did I mention that earlier? I was supposed to. The silent auction people were very adamant that I say that a lot. But we are here to have fun tonight. And so we've invited Gordon Douglas to come join us. And he gave me great joy when I first met him a decade ago. I didn't realize the time had passed the way it has. But it has. Gordon has been married to his wife, Dawn. Wow, Dawn. That's a great name for a wife. It dawned on you, didn't it? Yeah, that's right. They've been married for 35 years. One more bad joke. She could have been out of prison by now. Sorry. The rest are Gordon's. No more from me. No, I'm sorry. He and Dawn were told 40 years ago they couldn't have children. And they were deeply moved by the biography of Keith Green, and they opened their hearts and home to 8 boys. Hey, we had 8 boys. I would have been happy to send them to you. That's the last joke. That's the last one I do. Only 3 at a time. A missionary family with 4 kids. A young couple with a baby. Also living with him are his in-laws and some outlaws, some prisoners under house arrest. The gifts and sacrifices that God gave through Gordon and his wife gave them the honor of being Parents of the Year in the state of Pennsylvania. I think that's pretty good. I bet the competition's stiff in Pennsylvania, actually. So Gordon's someone who lives and loves to laugh. In the 70s, his comedy skills took him from the nightclubs of Philadelphia to Hollywood. And from there, he went straight to ministry. Hollywood to ministry, yeah, makes perfect sense. A wild thought came to him in the process. He didn't have to give up comedy for ministry. He could do both. And that's what he does today. He's influenced by Jonathan Winters, Red Skelton. He mixes real-life stories with off-the-wall physical comedy and his hilarious view of life. And in that, he weaves some amazing life lessons that have come from his own tragedy and pain and triumphs in life. His wife's victorious battle with cancer, his dad's many years of confinement. We found out yesterday at Ordinary Faith that there was a child with Down syndrome that was with your father-in-law. That was very impactful for myself. So from those difficulties, he has found ways to smile and to give the gift of laughter. He was named Who's Who in America's Universities and from the Philadelphia Biblical University in 1995. For the last 20 years, Gordon has served as the head of the pastoral board of the Delaware County Pregnancy Center and also the regional coordinator for the National Day of Prayer. In his spare time, he's the president of the Therapeutic Construction Design Company. They make custom equipment for folks with disabilities. He also started the Belly Laughs outreach, which gets comedy DVDs to our troops. He's been in 41 states and 4 countries, has been featured on a variety of television and radio programs. I'll keep going. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Douglas. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you. What an opening act. Your pastor lies. One more joke. Oh, well, thank you for letting me be a part of this miracle. Thanks for inviting me to Wyoming. I had enough frequent flyer miles, so it's first, I love this state. It is truly one of my top 3 favorite states to visit. And not only do I get to be part of a miracle in one of my favorite states, but my daughter and 2 grandsons got to join me because of frequent flyer miles, so that's pretty cool. And then you had this incredible weather. I brought my long underwear. It's gorgeous outside. It is gorgeous outside. I can't wait we're going to head up to Yellowstone the next couple days and do some sightseeing and just enjoy that. But my agent just called and said, Gordon, we have 3 bookings in Alaska, 3 pregnancy centers in Alaska in February. And I said, will I be entertaining Eskimos? She said, oh, Gordon, we don't say Eskimo anymore. I said, really? What do you call them? She said, frozen Americans. So I don't know what it's going to be like in February, but I know last February where I was in Toronto, Canada, and it was cold. How cold was it? Apparently they didn't have Johnny Carson out here in Wyoming. Let's try it again. It was cold. How cold was it? I saw a rap singer pulling up his pants. It was that cold. It was that cold. He had some chapped cheeks. That's all I'm saying. It's like a little frozen fanny. You know what I'm saying? It is fun. I love to laugh. I love to travel. I was in Minnesota recently. I love Minnesota. Your neighbors, right? Not too far away. And sometimes when I'm doing a regular show, a full hour show, I'll ask people, give me a subject. I'll do a joke just so I don't do the same thing every night. I have ADD. Did I mention that yesterday? And a concussion, I got that. So somebody yelled out, tell a Sven and Ole joke. Sven and Ole. Who knows what a Sven and Ole joke is? Only a handful. I've been in comedy 40 years. I did not know. I looked them up. They're blonde jokes for Norwegians who are blonde. Now, I don't know if you read in the paper. I was reading that Wyoming Gazette over there at the hotel. Talked about the blonde who was in the emergency room, right? Both ears were burnt and her fingers were burnt. She walked into the emergency room. The lady said, oh, you poor dear, what happened? She said, oh, I was just ironing my skirt and the phone rang. I didn't think. I said, hello. I said, well, how'd you burn your fingers in your other ear? She said, well, I had to call 911. So that's a blonde joke. But Sven and Ole are out in Minnesota. You got to talk a little like Lawrence Welk, little Minnesota, you know what I'm and Sven and Ole, they're not too bright. You know, they go out fishing one day. They get in the boat. They put a fish on the hook. They put the hook on the water. They catch a fish. Put it in the bucket. Put the little worm on the hook. Put the hook in the water. They catch another fish. Next thing you know, that bucket is full. Sven says, Ole, this is the best place we've ever fished. We got to remember where this is so we can come back later. Ole says, no problem, Sven. He gets out a magic marker, puts a big X in the bottom of the boat. Sven says, Ole, that's not going to work. He says, why not? He said, we may not get the same boat tomorrow. Well, Ole and Lena, they've been married 25 years. They've never been off the farm, just in their own little town. But now their kids got them some money. They're going to go into the big city. So they pack up the old truck. They go driving into the city. They pull this big, beautiful hotel. It's got a chandelier bigger than their barn. It's got this little room with numbers, and it goes up and down. Like, wow, they've never seen this. And then they see a fountain, and people are going over and throwing water into the fountain. They ask the little guy at the desk, what are they doing throwing money in there? That's a wishing well. A what? It's a wishing well. You make a wish, you throw in a coin, your wish can come true. They couldn't, no, it can't be. But they go over, they look in the wishing well, there's coins all over the bottom. Ole says, oh, we might as well try it. He reaches in his bib overalls, he gives her a coin, he's got a coin. They make a wish and they throw it in. Well, Lena's never seen Ole ever throw money away, but she looked down to see where it was going and she fell right into the fountain. Ole said, wow, I didn't think it would work that quick. So I travel around. People ask me, been doing comedy since 1977. My first show was with Bill Haley in the Comets. Who remembers Bill Haley in the Comets? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Yeah, that was my first show. And then I went out to Hollywood and I was on Carol Burnett and the Mike Douglas show and got to meet people, somebody named Robin Williams and Jerry Seinfeld and Ellen DeGeneres. We were auditioning for American Bandstand in 1978. They were introducing comedians the last year they were on the air. And guess who won? No, I did not win. But I had the better life, and I just didn't have the bigger house. And God had a plan for me, and it's been interesting. So over 3,000 shows in 40 years. People say, do you have a favorite audience? Because audiences are different. I don't even have to think. I don't have to think. One show stands out above our. I was at a Women of Faith conference. 20,000 women and me. I felt like a piece of chocolate cake at a Weight Watchers convention. You know what I'm saying? Women laugh 7 times more than men. Do you already see it? Can you see that? How all the men are like looking, is there more cake? Is there cake? But I do men events too. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at a wild game dinner. I'm guessing in Wyoming you got wild game dinners, don't you? Yes, no, I can't tell. No, okay, because it's a drive. It's a 6-hour drive from Philly to Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania is a beautiful state. A lot of mountains, the Amish country, the farms, but you can't get good music anymore. Radio stations, crazy. You know that here with all your mountains, it's crazy stuff. Philadelphia, it's not even music. It's hip hop and rap. Hip hop and rap. That ain't music. You get on the other side of Harrisburg, the middle of our state. They love their country music. But as soon as you drive across, you get around Harrisburg, the radio stations fade in and out. You know what I'm talking about? You get a mixture of country and rap. It's crap. It's just... So I pull up to this big Methodist church, 500 Ford trucks with gun racks in the back. I walk into the church, and the stage was just a little bit bigger than this, but there was a mountain lion on the stage. I didn't know there were mountain lions in Pennsylvania, but Penn State, Nittany Lions, right there's mountain lions. Then there was a black bear. I didn't know there were black bears in Pennsylvania until my son hit one with his car. Yeah, they'll do some damage. And there was a raccoon and a fox and a deer head and a couple birds. I said to the pastor, wow, it's a lot of animals. Did you shoot all these? He said, no, my son is studying to be a veterinarian. And he said, to work his way through medical school, he works as a taxidermist. Well, I'm from the city. He collects taxes? No. He stuffs animals. I couldn't resist. As a comedian, I said, great, when he graduates, put both on the sign, right? Dr. Jones, veterinary medicine or taxidermy. Then at the bottom, either way, you get your cat back. One day I'm going to do a picture of this, because 5 of you clapped, all of you laughed, 3 people went, oh. I don't do mean, nasty cat jokes. It's crazy stuff. My daughter's talked me into getting cats a couple years ago. Got a picture on the internet. Daddy, look, these kittens are going to be destroyed tomorrow. Can we go save them, please, Daddy? So we go up to the SPCA. We look at these 3 little fur balls in a basket. They don't even have names. I asked the director, what do you call them? And you know cat people, they are the sweetest, kindest, nicest. I love cat people. I hate cats. She said, oh, every kitten has its own personality. She said, you just take them home. By the end of the week, you'll know just what to call them. Don't get ahead of me. So we named one Thunder because he was the loudest. Then we named one Lightning because he was the fastest. And then we named one Liberace because he was the pianist. Oh, you're young. Do you know who Liberace is? Yeah. You got to explain these young people don't even know. People ask, who writes your comedy? Honestly, most of it comes out of real life. It's funny, isn't it? My daughter's invited friends over. They walked into the house. They saw the litter box. These teenage girls said, oh, did you get a cat? I couldn't resist. I was in the living room. I yelled, no, I'm just lazy. 19 kids, 2 bathrooms, you do the math. I mean, so it's been fun. It's quite a journey. People ask, what's your favorite event? Not just favorite audience, but favorite event. I got to go on a singles cruise. Everyone say, ooh. Yeah, you know what I learned in a singles cruise? There's a reason some people are single. That's right. It's just not. My wife said that's an insulting joke. I don't want to insult people. I really don't. It just wasn't what I was expecting, since I'm picking on the young people here, the drummer. What age do you think is on a singles cruise? Just ballpark, 20s, 30s, 40s. What are you thinking? 25, 30. That's what I would be thinking. We would be wrong. Yeah. It's like 65 and over. Yeah. They were wrinkled before they got in the hot tub. You know what I'm saying? It was not what I was. I grew up with Love Boat. Remember Love Boat? Love Boat. Everybody young and beautiful. No. My wife heard me on the phone. Yeah, I'll do it. And my wife said, what was that? You didn't even pray about it. It's important to pray before decisions. That's why we're here, right? And I said, honey, I was invited on a singles cruise. She didn't even blink. She said, can I go? I said, you want to go on a singles cruise, or you don't trust me on a singles cruise? She didn't even blink. She just said, 3 days at sea, you could start to look good. This is as good as I just had my 50th high school reunion. Can you believe that? We got to tell these young people things change in 50 years, don't they? Yeah, like the homecoming queen. Oh, time has not been kind. I looked at all the girls who wouldn't date me in high school. I said, look what you gave up. I've gained 68 pounds since high school. 6'3" and 119 when I graduated. Yeah, that is skinny. Yeah, when your pajamas only have one stripe. That is skinny. Oh, I did. I struggled. So I got to shorten this up. So I got to jump over. Yeah. So my wife went with me on the singles cruise. Why? Because I learned this, and it's now 40 years of marriage. I got to update my introduction. Yeah. My wife says living with me is like being on a vacation. You know, her actual words was I was her last resort. So we struggled, and so she went with me because I've learned this: when Mama ain't happy, right? You know the second part: when Papa ain't happy, nobody cares. That's in the Book of Hesitations, chapter 3, right there. That's think. So yeah, it's crazy. So I do a couple shows. My wife is with me. We get down to Cozumel, Mexico on the free day, which is a lie. There ain't nothing free. Everything that looks like fun costs extra. When you got 19 kids, there ain't no extra. So what do? We sat on the beach. We looked at the water. W-O-O-D-A-H, the water. Because I'm from Philly. That's what you call it. It's the water from the creek. So we look at the water. Oh, my goodness. It's beautiful. It's turquoise. I grew up in South Philly. I go to South Jersey. It ain't turquoise. It's kind of a duct tape gray with a touch of mucus. It's nasty. It's nasty. So we sit on the beach. I'm looking at the water. My goodness, girls are walking by. Have you seen the bathing suits girls are wearing today? I have seen more material in an eye patch. But I want to honor God, honor my wife. So I look at the ocean, look at my wife, look at the ocean. Look. And then 3 of the younger girls, there were some younger girls on the singles cruise, came and put their chairs right next to my wife and I. Wanted to sit next to the celebrity. This never happens. And the girl next to me, she takes off her little jacket and she's putting sunblock on. That's good. Your body's a temple. Take care of it, right? But I look at the ocean, look at my wife, look at the... But out the corner of my eye, I see something. I'm a curious guy. I have ADD. I had to look. She's got a black ring around her belly button. What? I looked at... It's a tattoo of a snowflake. I yelled at my wife, look. 10 years and 3 kids. That's going to be a spider web. So as I travel the country, mostly for pregnancy centers and adoption and for parents and families with kids with special needs, I talk about this, and I get to speak at Christian schools, Catholic schools down south. I can get into public schools and talk about love, sex, and dating and decision making. There are decisions you make that will make your life better. And there are some decisions you make that can make your life worse. That's what my book's about. Not plugging my book tonight. You got too much good stuff. But my book is called Growth Spurts and Growing Pains, The Struggles of a Skinny Stud Muffin. It's a comedy devotional. There's things I've done right that brought love, joy, and peace into my life that I want my kids and grandkids to learn young. And I've made mistakes, folks. There's things that cause me and others pain, growing pains. And I want my kids to be warned and avoid some of those pitfalls. So my book's a funny daily devotional, and I don't want to plug it tonight other than we can talk afterwards because tonight it's about being part of this amazing miracle. But our home is that miracle, and that's the thing I shared in church yesterday. How many were not in church yesterday? Okay, well, we'll take an offering. No, we're going to do that later. Yeah. Well, I shared it, and it was in the introduction. We were told when we got married, we could not have children, physically impossible. It could not happen. And as we took in these boys off the street, 1 to 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 boys, and then the 2 prisoners and my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, that God showed he had a sense of humor and blessed us with 5 miracle babies. Yeah, 4 before they told me what was causing it. It was good. So the oldest of my 5 miracle birth children is with us. Sandra Gala is with us tonight. So that's a double treat. So yeah, you can give her a clap. So yeah, I was just on the Huckabee show. I don't know if you watched the Huckabee show, but I was on, and they invited me back Christmas. And my brother said, if you're going to be on Huckabee, you better don't be exaggerating about your kids. So my wife and I made a list of all the people who live with us for a year or more, and we found out it's not 19, it's 24. I just don't like 5 of them. Now, I just didn't update my website. But I said, how can I tell people the story? And because you only get 6 minutes, and you have 5 seconds, Pastor, 5 seconds over the clock. That's it. And as soon as you grab that mic, there's a clock right here, 5:59, 5:58. It's panicking stuff. But we made up a list, and we found we had 8 troubled boys, 7 unemployed, 6 drug addicts, 5 birth children, 4 relatives, 3 3 something. To say something, 2 prisoners and a burnt out missionary. That's it. So I did it for Christmas. So I just wanted to throw that in. That's fun. That's fun. So that's a little bit about our family. And normally if I had a 1-hour show, I would tell you a joke about each one, but I don't have time. So my son, when he was 10, because I am a pastor, I don't tell people that when I do my comedy show because people don't think pastors are funny. But they are. We have a sense of humor. We need to laugh. Hey, we're coming up on Pastor Appreciation. We're in Pastor Appreciation Month. So we need to see that. It's kind of fun. So, I'm in church and my son, 10 years old, yells in the church as we're finishing and they're playing tag and running around. Hey, Dad, what do you get when you eat beans and onions? I said, I don't know, and I'm afraid to ask. He said, tear gas. He's funny. He's got ADD worse than I do. We're in South Philly. He's going to go out to Lancaster, Amish country on a class trip field. So it's like the next morning, you have your homework, you got your lunch, you got your permission slip. Yes. He gets it. Oh, Dad, can I have a few bucks for a souvenir? All right, here's a few bucks. He goes out that night. He comes on and he's so excited. Oh, Dad, we saw these horse and buggies. And we went in a barn and we climbed up and we ate at the smorgasbord. Oh, it was great. And I said, great, son. What'd you do with my money? He reaches in his pocket, pulls out a little can of lip goo. I looked at it. It says manure. I said, does that heal chapped lips? He says, no, it keeps you from licking them. That's a 10-year-old joke. My daughter, 14, something happened to my daughter at 14. Little joy. She lost her ability to speak without her head in her hip. At 14, what is that? It's like an exclamation point for kids. Daddy, we got to go to the library. It's during COVID. What do we go to the library? Oh, we have to get a book and do a book report. We get to the library. She says, Daddy, you got to get a book too. So why do I have to get a book? You said nobody could watch TV till we all did our reading. What goes for one goes for. Did you ever do that as a parent? Now, y'all heard, I was parent of the year, right? Y'all heard that? Because nobody clapped. I didn't know if you heard. No. I talk to parents now because of this award. I get to talk to parenting groups. Parenting has changed since I was a kid. I'm in the supermarket and this kid, this little 3-year-old is in the cereal aisle screaming, I want it. Ah! And the mom's like, use your words. I'm down by the cornflakes. I was like, I got some words. She said, I'm going to count to 10. And she starts, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I walked around the aisle. I yelled over top, 9. What happens when she gets to 10? The kid gets what? A timeout. Did you ever get a timeout? No. My dad, it was a knockout. There was no timeout. Timeout was how long you were unconscious. That's what a timeout. My dad not only hit, he hit for distance. Neighbors would comment, that was a good hit right there. I think he got air. Did you see how far he went? Now, don't email me about abuse. I'm just saying there should be consequences, clear, consistent consequences, not given in anger, and that suits there's a lot about discipline we need to learn, but we need boundaries, and we need to know there's consequences. So I do some talks on that too, but it's just different. My son, when he got older, Brett, he's like 6'4", real good basketball player, number 11 in scoring in Philadelphia his senior year, did really good, college offers, comes home, got a deeper voice, and he's like, hey, Dad, basketball team's going to chip in to go to the prom. Going to chip in for a limo. I said, a limo? I said, where is your prom? It's at the country club at the end of our street. I said, how much is it? $500 to go 6 blocks. I said, are you nuts? I said, son, let's put this in perspective. My one and only date in high school was my prom. I know that's hard to believe, but I wasn't this good looking in high school. I couldn't get a date. There was a girl that had a date. It was a class project. They put us together. And I did not go to a country club on my prom. Parents, where did we go on our prom? Where was our prom? The high school gymnasium, right? Dinner was in the locker room, remember? And I did not go to my prom in a limo. I went to my prom in a Volkswagen Bug. with 6 other couples. You couldn't get road rage in a Bug. Remember that little car? 1971. It's the billboards. I can still picture the billboards. VW Bug, still under, what's the price? What's the price? Still under $2,000, 1995. And the other big sales pitch was a Volkswagen in a swimming pool with 2 words. It floats, because that's what you want in a car. But you couldn't get road rage in a Bug. Somebody cut you off, you lay on the horn, what would it do? Meep. That was good. That was good. I like that. Do that again. Who did that? That was a good sound effect. That was a nasty little car. You had to crack the windows before you closed the door, or you couldn't hear for a week. Turn on the radio, the car would slow up. You remember that? Had that little heater in the front, would put a blister on your ankle. You remember that? Tell me the Germans weren't mad after losing the war. I know, that's an ethnic joke. People say you shouldn't do ethnic jokes. You're a Christian comedian. Hey, I believe John 3:16, for God so loved the... That's pretty much everybody, isn't it? And I went to Bible school. I studied the last book of the Bible. What's the last book called? Some of you put an S. There's no S. There's no S. My teacher said it's Revelation. Revelation of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Lamb of God, the Lion of Judah. In chapter 4, he's on his throne in all of his glory. And who's around his throne? People from every nation, tongue, and tribe. We're still different in heaven. Get over it. Don't insult people. Don't put people down, but celebrate. We're different. Why are so many Italians named Tony? Because when they left Italy, they wrote down where they were going. To New York, to New York, to New York. Polish guy goes to an eye doctor. The doctor says, can you read the chart? ZXY, KJZ. He said, read it. I know him. I got a bunch of them, but that's, so, yeah, so it's been different. So I told my son, I said, yeah, I remember I was so excited. I got a date and I'm going to go to my prom. I went home, Mom, I got a date to the prom. I need a tux. My mom, I'll make you a tux. Now there's a difference between poor and cheap. God bless the world's greatest generation, those who made it through the Depression, fought a war, saved the world. They had convictions, they had values, and they were thrifty. My parents were cheap. I'm talking cheap. We had to eat cereal with a fork to save the milk. I'm talking cheap. My dad told us when the ice cream man is ringing the bell, it means they're out of ice cream. That's cheap. That is cheap. That generation wasted nothing. One day my dad spilled the iodine. He said, Gordon, quick, go cut yourself. I mean, come on. You don't waste nothing. And we were poor. Because as we learned in church, yes, my dad was in a wheelchair for 23 years because of a brain tumor. So we couldn't work. We had no money. I grew up, I needed hand-me-downs. Anybody else grow up with hand-me-downs? Right? That is tough when you got an older sister. I'm saying. I was in college before I learned shirts button the other way. I'm talking. It's the only guy in gym class that had a t-shirt with darts. It's like, that's a sewing joke. All the men are thinking this. Nah. Ask your wife. Darts are important. I'm just saying, darts are important. So my mom gets my dad's suit jacket. Here, try this on. It's way too big. Sleeves hang down to my ankles. She just pulls up the sleeves, says, hold your arms in. Nobody will know. I said, Mom, it doesn't fit, and it doesn't look like a tux. I'm going to get some velvet. I'll sew a lapel on it. It'll look just like a tux. But she grew up in a depression. If she buys a yard of velvet, she's going to use a yard of velvet. Waste nothing. I got a lapel out to here. Look like the back of a 57 Cadillac. Going on my first date in a homemade tux. And I'm a Baptist going to a dance. Hey, I was at your church yesterday. There was some dancing going on. Not my church. No, and I'm telling you, it was just different. It was the only dance I knew. I learned in 6th grade. Every state I've been in, 6th grade, what did we have to do? Square dance, yeah. Minnesota, somebody yelled, hokey pokey. They were homeschooled. But it's different. It's different. And I want to put you in a bad mood, but I don't know if you read during COVID, John Stevenson passed away, 93 years of age. The guy who wrote the Hokey Pokey passed away. Yeah, quietly in his sleep. There was no problems. They just couldn't get him in a casket. They put his right foot in. It was sad. I remember sixth grade. I got a bad knee from this car, but you remember sixth grade? You remember what we learned? The box step. Do you remember the box step? You make a box. You go up and over and back and forth. 1, up and over and back and forth. Up and I did this all night long. My date, she stayed at the table. I saw all these girls dancing. I thought they were getting tasered. What is that? What is that? That's crazy stuff, crazy stuff. So I got to keep moving. I thought I heard something. Okay, but so yeah, my daughter, 19, my funniest kid by far is Kristen. 5'10", 5'11", long red hair all the way down here, just like her mom, a beautiful red hair, and she's funny. My daughter, Deborah Joy, is like 5'2", little short blonde hair. You'd never know they're sisters. They look nothing alike, but they sound identical on the phone. My wife calls home. My daughter answers, hello. My wife says, hi, is this Kristen or Joy? My daughter said, it's Kristen. Is this mom or dad? She's quick. She's quick. At 14, she knew God had a plan for her life. She knew. I stressed that all the time, right? God is real. His word is true. God's got a plan for me. And she knew that plan. She wanted to serve the Lord. She went off, as 7 of my kids went off to Philadelphia Biblical University. I wasted money on 5 of them. But she knew God had a plan. She calls me the day before Thanksgiving. Hey, Dad, I'm packing up the car. Can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. Oh, there's 4 kids from overseas. They got nowhere to go. Can I bring them home? What's another 4? So she brings them home, and she sits at the far end of the table because she's 19. She's in college, and she's cool. And I'm a comedian and a pastor, and she could die of embarrassment. So she's at the far end of the table. We're enjoying Thanksgiving. Everyone's having a good time. Halfway through the meal, my wife elbows me. That's her love language. Physical touch. She said, Kristen has a question. And the whole table got quiet. She's going to talk in front of her friends. Oh, she's got a question. I said, oh, come on, honey. Some Bible trivia, some Greek or Hebrew. Come on, throw it at me. And she said, Daddy, what would you think if I got married? And remember, Mommy was 19 when you married her. It's true. My wife is 6 years younger than me. People say I robbed the cradle. But I know the boy my daughter likes, and there's a 10-year age difference. Yeah, he's 9. No. He's 10 years older, and he's the worship leader in our church. What's the difference between a pizza and a worship leader? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Oh! I shouldn't do that joke at a fundraiser. I shouldn't do that joke at a... You know what? He is everything I prayed for, and I pray for all my kids every day. All my kids. The kids we took off the street, got out of jail, and the kids God gave us through the hospital. It's amazing. My prayer every day is, Lord, help them become the man or woman of God you want them to be, because he has a plan. And prepare the one they're going to share their life with. And that's still a prayer. Now for my grandkids. I'm praying for them, because that's an important decision, right? And I did pray, and they did get married 3 months later. In June, whatever that is, from November to June. And that was 12 years ago. I think it's 12 years ago. And they're doing great. They work at a Bible camp in Pennsylvania. She works with high-end kids with high-end autism and a wonderful ministry. They're doing great. But yeah, it's different, because when I gave her my blessing and we did the wedding, she came up a week before the wedding and said, Daddy, will you dance with me at the wedding? I said, honey, we're Baptist. And she said, oh my goodness. But she's like, Daddy, please. 14 boys, I could say no. No, just like my dad. No. And then when they say why, you would say, because I said so. You've met my dad. Good, okay. But my daughter says, Daddy, please. I said, well, if we're going to learn, we're going to do it right. Called my mama up, who lives 5 houses down from me. She brought up a record player and taught us how to dance. Little jitterbug moves, beer barrel polka, the mummer strut, which is really not even a dance. It's just a bunch of drunk South Philly people go, no, 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 no. Crazy stuff. But we practiced with my mom, and this is where God has a sense of humor. He puts people together. We're here together for a purpose. He put people together. My wife is a morning dove. I'm a night owl. That's just one of the differences. I have a whole album on things I wish I knew before I said I do. But my wife, she gets up singing. She gets up singing, praise the Lord. We have an alarm clock, it buzzes, and we have it tuned to Christian radio so it fills the house. And it's just fun. It's just fun. And but I don't get up very easily. I yawn and stretch and snooze. And I hear my wife singing, getting dressed to music. So I peek open my eye, wipe the sleep away, and I look across the room. She's getting dressed to music. A woman putting on pantyhose to music? Oh, that's a dance. All right, that's the short version. That's the short version. How we doing? We're doing good. All right, we got that. Well, there's a whole lot more about it. We're here. We want to have fun because God loves what kind of giver? You in a good mood? Because you want to be a part of stuff. There's ups and downs in life, right? There's a time to laugh. There's a time to cry. There's a time to build. I love it. Yeah, there's seasons, and we're in a new season and be a part of something. In the midst of this, my youngest, Deborah Joy, borrowed our new minivan, new for us. My goal was to get a car or truck or van within 10 years of the date we were living. That was my goal. And so we got this minivan for us, 10 years old, but she wanted to borrow it to move into her new apartment, moving out of the house, getting out of grad school. Well, listen, that's my alarm. And don't you wish every pastor did that? No. So she borrowed my minivan to move into her new apartment in Hershey, Pennsylvania, right? Hershey's kids' child. And she calls home that day. Daddy, I was in an accident. Didn't see a stop sign in a new community. There was a bush in the way. Totaled my minivan. Well, we drove up. She was okay, just a little bruised and upset. And I said, let's just pray. Let's just pray. Because you're supposed to give thanks in all things. So, Lord, thank you. We don't know why you did this, what you're doing, but I thank you right now for the car you're going to replace us with. I'm praying that you're going to give us something newer, better, and cheaper. Newer, better, and cheaper. I'm serious. This is what I prayed. My kids know this is what I do. And she's like, Daddy, I was like, there's a shortage, COVID. Have you looked at car prices? You can't even get cars. You go by car dealers and there's like nothing in the lot. Used car prices have tripled in price. And the insurance company in their love and grace don't give you the new expanded voice. They give you the old book value before COVID. So we had $6,000 and I wanted a video. So we prayed for 3 weeks and I went to dealers and there was nothing. There's nothing. And my daughter's like, oh, sorry, I'll help you. I'll chip you. I'll do it. I said, God is going to do it. Let's just pray and watch what God does. And then my dad, who used to play for the Phillies, 1952, I don't know how they did tonight, but they were losing when I looked in the Chicago place. I know. I lost it for a second. Okay. But this old ball player called up, 92 years old, and said, hey, Gordon, I saw you put on Facebook that you're praying for a minivan. Do you know about this ministry out in northern PA? The Mennonites run this thing, and they provide vehicles for missionaries. And now you're kind of a missionary. So I called them up. I filled out the form, and they said, yeah, you are. You qualify. We would love to support you, but we can't get a car. Anything that even goes to the auction is taken off no matter what. He said, I'm sorry, we have nothing for you. Like, oh, man. So I said, well, we're just going to keep praying. The very next day, they called back and said, Gordon, you won't believe this. It's just how I believe most of my conversations begin. They said, this lady, a little 82-year-old lady, just found out she's not allowed to drive anymore, and she's got this nice minivan. It's only got 50,000 miles. It was newer. It was better. And they said, if you want to come up and look at it, I'm like, I'll take it. Well, we didn't say, I'll take it. And so I go up, and I did a program for their staff, and I did a little something there. And I went, and they rent it to you for $9 a day or $9 a week, something like that. $9. It's really cheap. And I said, oh, sure, we can do that. We'll do that for a month or two. But I said, I really was hoping to buy it. And they said, well, we don't do that. But after I did my program and shared my testimony, I went to put my 1 month deposit down. They said, Gordon, the director wants to talk to you. So I go back in the office, and he said, well, we don't normally do this, but we heard your testimony, and we just had a vote with the board here, and we'd love to give you the minivan. I said, great, but we can't. But we'll sell it to you at half price. Book value is $20,000. You can have it for 10. I said, I don't have 10. I have 6. He said, well, go home and take it for a month and let's just watch what God does. So I put a picture of it on Facebook and said, who wants to be a part of a minivan miracle? You know our story. You know what we do. If you would like to donate, we need $4,000. And if you whatever. And in less than 24 hours, we had 6,000. We only needed 4. And I was telling people on Facebook to stop giving. And people kept writing for the next 2 weeks. How do I get in on this? How do I get in on this? We want to buy you some new tires. We want to buy you some gas. We want to buy, and we got over, I forget how much, over $6,000, $7,000 more than we needed. And I didn't want to say I didn't want it, but I kept saying no more, no more. That happened once in Scripture where people said no more. No more. But if we just do what God says, that's my approach to fundraising. And my last story is I was on a radio interview, a secular interview, which I do sometimes just to be a light and a testimony. These comedy shows and podcasts, like, what is Christian comedy? And what do? You make fun of Jesus? Or you make fun of stuff? I said, no, I make fun of myself, but I hope that through what God's done in my life, people will be interested in my Jesus. And this guy was just angry at my attitude and my joy. And in the midst of the interview, it's getting near the end, and he says, do you really think what you do makes a difference? And I said, well, since you ask, I said, a few weeks ago, I was at a funeral. And I said, as a pastor, I get to do those sometimes. And I work part-time at a school as a handyman for kids with cerebral palsy, 34 years. I'm the head of maintenance, which because I'm the only maintenance. But one of our teachers who my sons played ball with her sons and grew up, Cindy, was there. And her husband pulled in the driveway one day, 54 years old, and died getting out of the car, just massive. And this was her funeral. And I was getting out and I was walking into the church, and there was already a long line. And this lady gets out of a car and yells, "There's comedian Gordon Douglas." And I was like, oh, we're at a funeral. My friend is up there crying. There's a casket. And she's like, no. And she comes up and she hugs me and she's, Gordon, I can't believe it. I can't. And she's yelling. I'm trying to calm. I went, my friend is crying. She's mourning this sudden death. You don't understand. You don't understand. You do a lot of shows you probably don't remember, but 13 years ago, you did a show to help a couple who couldn't have children to raise money for an adoption. I said, oh, I remember that one. East Goshen Baptist Church in Paoli. I'll never forget that. It was one of the first fundraisers I ever did. And they wanted to raise $25,000. Why are adoptions so expensive? It makes no sense. We could help so many more. But I said, I remember, because I didn't have a lot of faith, but I remember telling jokes about how we took people into our home. This is what we do. And this family would love to have a child, and they can't, but they want to adopt this little boy from China. But to do that, it's going to take $25,000. And they did it. They raised the money. I said, ma'am, I remember that like it was yesterday. It's one of my most exciting moments that God showed me that he could do something. She said, Gordon, I was that mother. Look at my car. And there's a 14-year-old Chinese kid wearing a leather jacket. She said, he's in America today because you told some jokes and people gave. And she said he would have been killed with their one-child policy. But because of what we did, there's a child alive today. What we do makes a difference. And tonight, it's just to get a building that's going to build a church, that's going to impact a community, that's going to be a part of what I believe is a worldwide revival. You get to be a part of that. So thank you, truly thank you. I am honored to be a part of this kickoff. I hope I can come back and celebrate groundbreaking. I can't, or come back to grand opening. I want to come back and hear. But to tell you how you can partner and cast a vision for the future, I'm going to ask Pastor Mike to come back up. But again, thank you for letting me share.
Oops. All right, thanks, Gordon. Great job, man. Now I got some new jokes for Sunday. It's good. Yeah, that's right. Know your audience. That's good. I'm going to ask Ryan and Nicole Scott if they would come up, and they're going to share with us and tell you what to do with the envelopes and things that are on your table, and also share with you some testimony from their life. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryan and Nicole Scott.
I got to get the Hunter orange one.
Oh, you have to get the, okay, that's good. Maybe we'll fill the tag, right?
Okay. Well, tonight, Nicole and I want to share some testimonies with you. Nicole will start by sharing her testimony about our journey together and how God has moved in our lives. And then I'll talk later about my testimony, and I'll talk a little bit about qualified charitable donations and how we can gift highly appreciated stock or any stock. But before I do, my wife and best friend, Nicole.
So those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicole, married to this handsome fellow over there. We've been married for 24 years. And in the 24 years that Ryan and I have been married, I've gained so much wisdom about the nature of giving, all because of my husband and his generous nature. So I'm not here to convince you to give or beg you to give. I just want to give you a testimony of a particular time when we gave, and because we continue to keep on giving, I feel God has blessed us for it. When I first married my husband, I didn't understand the principles of giving. Scripture says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of your crops, then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Proverbs 3:9-10. As one devotion says about giving, we as believers are not bound to the Old Testament law of tithing, but Jesus and his disciples made it clear that giving a portion of our earnings to God is one of the ways we should worship him. I understand this now, but I did not understand this years ago. It was through times of hardship and trials that I began to understand this the most. My start to understand the principle of giving began way back in the year 2000. Shortly after we were married, my husband was offered a position in investment banking. One of Ryan's college professor's uncles was involved with this company, and Ryan was offered the position. Ryan's position was to read a business plan and decide which companies to find investors for, and then to help take that company public. Ryan took the offer, and it was a great job to get through his last year of school. Just before graduation, Ryan was offered a full-time position with this company, but we would have to move all the way to Pennsylvania. Deciding to move for this job was a very difficult decision, as we had to leave the state of Wyoming, which is the best state, the state that we grew up in and loved, leave our family and friends, and move all the way to a place called Jenkintown, which is the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At that time, Ryan had just graduated with his finance and economics degree, and I was working as an X-ray technologist trying to save up as much money as we could as he went to school. We decided if we were going to do something like this, it was the time to do it. We don't have kids yet, so what do we have to lose? So here we were, this young newly married couple going off an adventure we'd never forget. We spent most of our savings moving to this foreign place. Foreign was definitely the understatement. When we were finally moved and settled into our apartment, we realized we were living in a community where we were the minority. We were very naive and found ourselves in several situations where we didn't feel welcome. Talk about a culture shock. Anyways, we settled in, and Ryan started work at his job. I took a little time off, but after a month, I eventually went back to work myself, and it was a good thing I did. Little did we know the company that Ryan was contracted through was headed for financial trouble. Ryan's employer was paying the company Ryan was contracted to that paid us, but that company was burning through cash faster than they had disclosed during the due diligence meetings. Basically, they had lied, and they were in financial trouble. We didn't know this until a few things happened. First, Ryan received his first paycheck while he was in Pennsylvania working for them. We did not have any trouble getting paid when he worked directly for them back home, so it was a shock to us when we went to cash his paycheck, it bounced. And then it was another shock that we had to pay a $20 fine as a result of the check bouncing. So welcome to the real world. Part of the deal with the company that Ryan was contracted to, they would pay our rent as well. About a month into it, we both, sorry, I stapled this too close. We both got home and found an overdue rent notice on our door. Ryan spoke to the bigwig of the company, and he was assured that he'd be paid and things would be made right. We were somewhat making ends meet, even though he was not getting paid. In the meantime, I started working more at my new job, and Ryan won some money by riding bareback horses at some rodeos in a place called Cowtown, New Jersey. Yeah. We found a church that we loved and met some nice people. We were able to do some sightseeing and even spent our 1-year anniversary at Niagara Falls. We were having a great time exploring the new area, but as the weeks went by and it was time to get paid again, he didn't get paid. Soon there was another notice on our apartment door, but this time it was a warning for eviction if we do not pay. We were told by the company this matter would be taken care of, and it wasn't. I couldn't believe this was happening. I was upset, and most of all, scared. We didn't have anything left in savings, and we were living on fumes. It was clear this company he was contracted to wasn't upfront about their financial situation, and the job was not working out, so Ryan started the process of looking at other options. They wanted to move us to California or Virginia. I started taking on more hours at my job just to make ends meet. In the meantime, he received offers from many financial services firms and decided to go with Edward Jones Investments after the experiences, knowledge he learned in investment banking, and got the job. An answer to prayer, because we could choose to move to anywhere we'd like, and that was a no-brainer. We chose to move back home. Yeah. I'd like to say the same, but we kissed the ground when we got back to Wyoming, literally. While we were in the foreign land called Jenkintown, church became our escape. Church was the one thing that kept us going, and just being able to worship God and forget about what was happening for a time. One particular morning before church, Ryan wanted to give $300 to the church. Now, for a young couple during that time struggling to make ends meet, that was a lot. I could not believe he was asking me to write a check for this amount. This money we did not have to give. We were saving it to move back home. We were trying to get back home, and I think this was our first big argument we had since we were married. I could feel a huge ball of anger rise up within me from deep down. My first thought was, he doesn't want to take care of us. We should come first. We are the ones that need the money right now, not a church. I actually voiced this to him, but he would not back down. I wrote the check, but my heart was not in the right place when I did. I became very bitter about it. Ryan even made sure I, of all people, put the check in the offering plate, and that made me even more angry than before. Time went by, and we were trying to make plans to move back home, but we just did not have the money. One day, Ryan got a call from the person who offered the job to begin with. He wanted to give us $5,000 to get back home. I couldn't believe this when Ryan told me that. I think the first thing I did was cry. That was the amount we had in savings before we left for the job in Pennsylvania. I remembered the day Ryan would not back down about giving the $300 he had me put in the offering plate. I was starting to understand this principle of giving, but I still had some things to learn. As time gone on and we moved back home, Ryan was trying to build his business. I was working full time, and Ryan just received his license to become a financial advisor with Edward Jones. He was just beginning to meet with clients, but then unfortunately 9/11 happened, and building a book of business as a financial advisor was a struggle at the time. Even then, Ryan didn't back down at the concept of giving. Not once in any of our struggles that we've had throughout the years has he ever, sorry about this, backed down in wanting to give. I do believe God has blessed our family for his wisdom. My husband is now recognized as one of the top financial advisors in the country, And we recently became owners instead of renters of our new beautiful office space at the top of Commerce Bank building with spectacular views of the community we love, and best of all, my husband has a career that he loves. I am able to fulfill my dream of being able to stay at home and raise my kids, and I will always be grateful for that. I now look at giving differently. It's not something I have to do, it's something I want to do. It's something I do out of faith and trust. I don't give because I've been commanded to, but because of the gratitude of what God has done for me. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." I understand it's a lot easier for those of us with money to give than those of us who don't have the money. We've been on both sides of the spectrum. In 2 Corinthians 9:6-7, scripture says, "Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." Remember the story of Jesus watching people putting money in the offering box? The rich people put in large amounts of money, but he wasn't impressed until a poor widow put 2 small coins in the box. He said, "This poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box, for they all contributed out of their abundance. But she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on." Mark 12:43-44. Whenever I read that story, I think back to the time my husband gave the $300 that we needed to help us get back home, and I like to imagine Jesus saying the same thing about him. It all makes me smile now when I think about it. I would not exchange that experience for the world, and as time has gone on, and we continue to give through the years, whether we're doing good or not so good, my husband's faith and trust in the not so good times has taught me what it truly means to give from the heart.
Thanks, hon. You'd asked me, I think I'll use the podium. Thanks, hon. That was, wow, a lot of years ago. You know, I wanted to share some things about life. So this is not for the 10 or 20% that are currently giving. This is for those that may have never give before. This is not for the people who are crushing in life. I think all those people, you can play on your phones, use the restroom, or maybe daydream during this period of time. For those of you that experience failure and struggle through life, this is who I'm talking to. Those who have never trusted God or to gift, or trusted Him with that in your life. You know, recently my sister had some health issues, and she came and spent some time with us and worked on improving her health. She used our hyperbaric oxygen chamber and was able to do about 24 dives in a row. You know, we were able to spend some quality time during that period of time. And she talked about when I was a young boy, and I would come barreling into the house. And I was at a high rate of speed, and I smacked my head on the counter in the kitchen and knocked myself out. Tammy thought I was dead, and after some time, I regained consciousness. She wasn't sure how long I was out, but she said it was for quite a while. You know, parts of my life started to make more sense at that point. We now know when you're knocked unconscious, this can damage part of your brain and blood vessels, as well as cause learning disabilities. We also know today that we can restore these pathways, and one way is through hyperbaric oxygen. As a young boy, spelling reading and science were extremely difficult for me. High D's on the spelling test were a failure for me, or actually a success for me. Sounding it out never worked. Hooked on phonics, I could have been hooked on crack and done probably better. I was pulled out of class in the 2nd grade and put into a special reading class. And that didn't work for me either. I simply thought I was just stupid. My mother spent hours. Sorry about this. She spent hours with me. Flashcards for reading. We read book after book. I remember one Christmas in the 4th grade, I didn't want to return to school. I simply hated it. I cried and cried, probably like I'm doing now, and I went back to school, but failure after failure, I realized this wasn't working for me. So I took a different approach. I started to memorize things. One of the ways I would do it is if you would stand up in class and read, I would follow along with the words, and I would memorize how to pronounce it. I continue to do this throughout my life. Today I read a lot. I read probably a book a month, maybe more, I don't know. Today in my industry, people have accused me of a photographic memory, which I do not have. What I can do, however, is pull things out of my memory different than other people. I believe it also has allowed me to see the world different than most people. By high school, I had figured out how to memorize things, and my GPA was around a 3.7. I had finally caught up with my classmates. My brain, after failure upon failure, had finally adjusted. You know, Pastor Mike, you know, I do a lot of health stuff, and I had a SPECT scan done on my brain. And one of the tests they run on your brain is what your level of resilience you have. My level was 95%. I guess if you fell at the level I did, you had to figure that out. And my daughter, Mackenzie, was at 99%. This place has clinics all over the United States, if I remember right. They do tests on Navy SEALs, NFL football players. In fact, they showed us Joe Namath's brain on one of the SPECT scans, and he gave us consent for that to be shared. The doctor told me something very interesting. He said resiliency is taught, it is not genetic. Mom never gave up on me as a boy, and that boy that thought he was stupid and a total academic failure. She told me once she prayed for wisdom more than she prayed for wisdom for the rest of my siblings. And I needed more prayer than my siblings did. If you ask people that went to school with me if they were surprised at where we ended up in life, they would probably say shocked, a better word. I can relate to failure with so many of you at such a deep level by now. Today I chase failure, and I learned how to turn it into success. The Bible 3 different times talks about God testing God. And in 9 of these times, it's recorded where God condemned those who tested him. But one of the 3 times, it appears God wants us to test him is Malachi 3:10. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse that there may be food in my house, and test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing until it overflows. I believe one of God's blessings is that he places people into our lives when they are meant to be there, and he guides us to make the right decision. Another blessing is that he closes doors in our lives as well. On one of our properties, as you go through the gate where we keep the cows, there are 7 memory stones. I would like to share 2 stories of those memory stones for family and evidence how God has worked in our lives. About 5 or 6 years ago, the level of pain in my body was extreme. I would say to myself, if you do not have pain today, today is a good day. Towards the end of that journey, the pain continued to worsen. I was at my massage therapist trying to get knots out of my body. She was basically standing on me at this point and said she can no longer get the knots out of my muscles. And she recommended I get an x-ray and an ultrasound image done, as I needed probably full neck and back and shoulder surgery to repair the damage. The high level of maximum strength ibuprofen that I was taking, which was by far beyond more than the recommended amount, was no longer working for me. God had placed in my life a business coach at the time, and I explained to her how many different specialists I had seen and the answers that they had none for me. The last specialist I went into, when he walked into the room, you could tell he had not looked at my blood results. When he looked at the results, The blood left his face. Not only were they high, but they were hundreds of points higher than anyone else he had ever seen. He had no solution for me. I had no solution for me either. At that point in my life, I had almost lost my life twice from anaphylactic shock. One of the many miracles of my life was at Bear Lake on a Friday night. The PA said he should not have been there on a Friday night. My wife and my friend Darren brought me into the clinic. I was in the last stages of anaphylactic shock, which is realizing you're going to die, and death was minutes away. The air became scarce, and God, no doubt, brought that PA to the lake to save my life. Then I talked to my business coach about my symptoms, and she said, as you probably have figured out, this is not normal. She sent me a book called The Plant Paradox, and as I read the book, the health of my life seemed to make sense. Science is the best knowledge we have at any point in time. My doctor, Dr. Gundry, realized that all science that he was taught was wrong. I was a perfect patient. See, science I never did very good at. Numbers made sense to me, but science did not. So whatever he said sounded great to me. It takes 2 or 3 years to get an appointment on average with Dr. Gundry if you can get into him. However, God opened doors, and I was sitting in his office in Palm Springs 3 months later. A recent blood lab that I did with Dr. Gundry's PA said I have slowed and even reversed the aging process in my body. One of the times Dr. Gundry and I had an appointment, I have an appointment about every 6 months with their team. He said, Ryan, do you realize that you are one of 7 people out of thousands I have seen that reversed the level of your pancreas had? The rest are dead. You know, at the time I probably had about 5 years left on earth when I met Dr. Gundry, and God was able to place me in his life. And today I am alive and fully healed because of that person. So that was one of the stones. Another time in my life, my wife had shared that we were looking for a new office. My office was originally built for 2 people, and we had 4 at the time. I had a year to find a new building. We do 5-year leases, so this would be a big decision. I spent a lot of time on my knees praying for a new office with at least one window. I had not found much after looking for many. This was February, January, and March, and my lease was up in August. I had found a location and spent quite a bit of time negotiating it. There were 2 other owners and myself that would share in this space, but the 2 other owners had to agree to the terms. They did not want the window in the back of my office. I went to the architect who built the building. He approved it. The city approved it. Everybody but the other 2 owners approved it. My business coach at the time said, Ryan, these are bright pink flags waving. I think she meant red flags at the time. I even went as far and told him I would pay $50,000 additional to have the 3 spaces subdivided so we could each have our own space, which had increased the value of all of our spaces. That did not go through either. In April, as we neared this, my firm required me to get a real estate agent, which I did. And she took me to the last location that we looked at, which is the space in Commerce Bank Building. I was not aware you could purchase this space. And as we negotiated this with Ben Dowd, I don't know if any of you dealt with Ben, but he is a tough businessman. 30 minutes, we had a deal done. And at the end of the 30 minutes, I thought it was a pretty good deal. Later, Dory, Ben's daughter, called me and said, we have never gave a deal like we gave to you. And we are worried it's going to impact the future prices of our facility here. Would you be willing to pay more for the location? Well, we all finally settled on a solution. And again, if you know Ben Dowd, it wasn't Ryan negotiating with that man, it was God. Well, in May, we bought the building, and in July, we were physically there. My firm told me, that has a little bit of experience, 14,000 locations and offices, that it was going to be impossible to be there in that period of time. We did, and they brought a machine that spun around in each of the rooms. And in each of those rooms, they count everything. I mean, we're a finance company. We're statistically driven at every stage. The prior record of the firm was 67 windows. We even kept track of windows. Mine had 167 windows in that office. Talk about a multiplier. I asked for one, and I got 167. I now understand that we don't ask God for nearly enough. We shouldn't be asking for just one window. We should be asking for the 167 windows. We use the logic of man, and it goes something like this. Where can I get 167 windows in Rock Springs, Wyoming? We're asking God through all this for $3 million. I now wonder if we're asking for enough. I look forward to so many stories and life-changing events that will take place as we go through this project. I look forward to placing Memory Stone number 8, which is when we get fully funded for the $3 million, and Memory Stone number 9, which is when we're in our new building. A place where we can reach out to people where they are. Maybe it's a weeknight, maybe it's a Saturday night. Give them the flexibility to come to God and reach them in Sweetwater County and beyond. A couple opportunities I'd like to talk about this evening, and how maybe you can have a memory stone like us, is first through qualified charitable distributions. So qualified charitable distributions are allowed from individual retirement accounts, or if you have a 401k or 403b and eventually move it to that tool, this strategy may make sense for you. Currently, all of us, when we do our taxes, get a standard deduction. If you're 65 years or older, you get $30,700 as your standard deduction. A single filer is $15,700. What that means is if you're to itemize the interest on your home, gifts, charity, sales tax, and a few other items, you'd have to come up with more than $30,700. It's estimated that 90% of taxpayers do not itemize but take the standard deduction today. But if you're over 70 and a half and you have a traditional IRA, you can contribute those dollars, which you did not pay taxes on when you put them in, to a 501c3 charity, our church, and still receive your standard deduction. It's as if you get the $30,700 plus another $10,000 as a total of $40,700. Now, I don't want to limit to just the $10,000, but there is a limit that you can do, and it's only $100,000 a year that you can take out per year out of your IRA and contribute. The good news is we're late in the year, so $100,000 now, and January another $100,000. Also, if you're in the stage of life where you're required to take out distributions by the government, the required minimum distributions, these count towards that. Your distribution's $10,000, and you take $10,000 out as a qualified charitable donation, you've satisfied the IRS's requirement and would pay no tax on that distribution. Make sure your IRA custodian, whoever it is, if it's a bank or a financial institution, sends the check directly to Paul. Don't send the check individually, because if you receive it, it is not deductible for you. So I have some information on it for anybody who's interested in. I know if you're over 70 and a half and you're giving to our church currently, this is by far the most efficient way to do it. The second thing you can do, well, there's many, but another way you can do it is highly appreciated stock. You have highly appreciated stock and or highly appreciated real estate, and you go and sell that, you're going to pay capital gains at a 15, 20, 24% rate, depending on your income structure. And if you give that directly to our church, we can then liquidate it and avoid that capital gains. I'm here if you have any questions. One of my great business partners, Debbie, is here. She can probably answer them better than I can. We brought a few flyers if anybody has any additional information. Today we have some gift cards at your table. Use those pens in front of you if yours is not working. We got more. And we'd like each of you to decide what you want to do as a family. Launch an offering, do an ongoing contribution monthly, weekly, quarterly, annually. And your donor information there. We'll put it in the envelope. And Mike, are we going to deliver these to Paul, or where are we taking these to? There's an envelope on Perfect. Put the small envelope in the big envelope to collect them all. I got you. So I did not see the 8 by 10 there on the table. One person can take them to Paul. I just want to end with a quote from Winston Churchill. He said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." So let's give from the heart to build a better future for our community and our church family. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan and Nicole. Okay. Ryan and Nicole Scott. Yes, thank you very much. Hey, one more. Yeah. Okay. We're going to give you a minute to fill out those cards, put them in an envelope, and Paul is over here, and he is ready. He has his, imagine him in a pair of big green $ glasses. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding at all. Actually, I want to pray over this, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then don't run off yet. They're working on the closing up the silent auction over here, and because we got a few people we want to say thank you to, but we can mill about. You can grab another treat, and we'll be done soon. But let me bless this. Father, you love us. You love us, and that's why we love you. And I love how you've brought us to this point, kicking and screaming, to be honest. But here we are, and all because you're so good. And you've blessed our body with people who love you and who have sacrificed for you. And I just thank you. I thank you that we get to do tonight together. I thank you that it's a gala, but it's also kind of a family reunion kind of thing. And it's nice to connect with friends and to enjoy and laugh. I pray that you would help us to walk into the miracles you have for us. Give us courage and give us joy. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, you can get a couple of desserts. You can go see if you won something. Am I supposed to announce anything? You want me to pull the raffle tickets? We need someone handsome to do that. Gordon. But anyway. So anyway, you can we'll close up here in just a few minutes, but go ahead and talk, get a dessert, fill out your card, add a 0 to whatever you're thinking. It's up here.
I see Noah. Okay. No, I can't miss him. No, but it's so funny because the first day he came in, you see, this is where, you know, flying the students out, this can be you, you know. 6 years from now, they're like, how tall are you? And I have to tell him, he was this tall when he was in my room. And they're like, you know if everybody picked her up a little bit? But no, it's just we're not. Or you can just enjoy time. Or you can wait. Or at lunchtime. Like you said, you can't miss it. No. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. He set the standard though. Yeah, my wife had a lot about it too. So. That's what I do. I just do it.
Am I on? Okay. So you guys can keep talking. You can talk right over me, but I got a couple thank yous I need to say. And people are leaving, so I understand. It's 9 o'clock. It's past my bedtime. But I want to thank one. There's a short, skinny, full head of hair guy named Steve Williams. All the banners, all the publishing, all that stuff, that is Steve's hand. He consulted with me, and he said, is this okay? And I said, Steve, do it, man. And so thank you, Steve. If I could get whoever's left of the building and leader teams up here across the front while I do a few other thank yous, but the Orrs, Paul Pertelli, I know Paul's counting over here, but if I could go ahead and bring you guys up. Whoever's here from the building team, Ryan, I'm looking around. I waited too late. People are slipping out. But I wanted you to know who these guys were. The floor's good. The floor's good. That way I can stand over you. Oh, no. Ryan does not allow that. So, no, man, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Man, great presentations. Is someone else holding out on me or? Okay. Oh, Paul's counting, and we had a few couldn't make it tonight. Oh, Ed, get over here, brother Ed, please. Becky. Oh, Becky, why do I have to beg you guys? Come on. All right, you know how you are. So there are a few others who couldn't be here tonight. There's never a perfect night. I'm telling you what, I'm so blessed. One, with an amazing leadership team. They haven't fired me yet, so yay, that's good for me. But also, we have so much expertise on our building team. We have financial people, engineering people, real estate people, and folks who can look at things, larger projects. So I just want to say thanks to them, and I want you to know this isn't all of them, but there's a lot of them right here. All right, thank you guys. Thank you very much. She's busy as a one-legged man in a rear end kicking contest, but her name's Karen Johnson over there. She and other people that won't let me say their name did the silent auction. She's trying to get it all buttoned up over there, and just I don't want to get in trouble with Sherry Lloyd. If I say her name out loud, no telling what will happen. And Michelle Gaddy. But anyway, they worked on the silent auction. We were so thankful. The work they put in, couldn't believe. Just amazing. Also, they're not here, but we had a couple, Caitlin and Tyler Hilliard, who jumped in. We had a person that was supposed to help us with some balloons, and something happened, and Caitlin and Tyler Hilliard, she runs the White Mining restaurant. I can't remember what it's called right now. The White Mountain Mining Company restaurant. They came and did the balloon. All the balloons were her hand, and just jumped in. That's right. Okay. And then, there's so many people involved that should be standing and receiving this. But the last one I want to mention is Carrie Nussbaum from Carrie Ann's Candid Photography. So, if you haven't got your picture yet, there's a setup back there. It says Build Ordinary Faith. John and Tammy snuck one in over here, and that looks pretty cool. I wish we'd have got construction hats. But anyway, so... also, all the food was from Holly Keller and YO Wifey Shop, and so we're really grateful for her. Pastor Steve's going to come up and close us in a benediction. You can stay as long as you like, and the longer you stay, the more likely you'll help us clean up. But also, they're finalizing the bids over here, so you'll want to stay for that. Pastor Steve.
Hey, let's pray. Father, thank you for leading us this evening. Help us each one as we begin to take our next faith step to look to you, build our trust, build our faith, build ordinary faith. We give this to you. It's in Jesus' name we ask. Amen. God bless you. You guys have a great evening. Thanks so much for coming out. Stay as long as you want because I don't lock the doors. Have a good evening. Oh, whoa. Well, I call this number. It was the only one without a name. 542-8522. Jimmy, don't lose it. Oh. 542-8522. I think me. Woohoo! Everything else has names on it, so come over and see Michelle, and she'll point you in a direction. Have a good night, y'all. Oh. Wow. If we missed anybody, and we missed Miss Tammy Bolig and her decor team, isn't this room beautiful? These people have been working on this for months, literally, and she pulled it together. And so, again, thank you. All right, guys, have a good night.